I want to welcome everybody to today's Code Ninjas conference call. My name is Marty Flanagan. I am the Vice President of Franchising here with Code Ninjas. And these are live calls. I host these calls each and every week that I'm in town, and I can do that, which is pretty much all the time. So every Friday I host these calls. And these calls are pretty simple. If you've listened to them in the past, you do know that they're live, and I record them and host them on our YouTube franchising channel for Code Ninjas. And I have a Q&A segment that we do on today's call. It's just pretty easy. The first 10 or 15 minutes, I go over this brief history, catch you up a little bit on Code Ninjas, and then we move into the Q&A. The Q&A is pretty easy, where you just hit *6 at that time. It'll virtually raise your hand, and you'll be able to ask whatever questions that you have on your mind. Pretty simple. And I go as long as you have questions. So these calls, if you've listened in the past, which we usually have 30 to 50 attendees, which is incredible, and I thank you for those who attend on a regular basis, that you're able to ask questions, and they go for an hour, could go for an hour and a half. It's really up to you. And so I appreciate you taking time out of your day to attend today's Code Ninjas conference call. So catch you up a little bit. We're now approaching February. So in March of 2020 is officially our 3 years since we've had a Code Ninjas open. Our very first Code Ninjas opened in Pearland, Texas, and that was in the end of March. That was also the first month that we had our very first franchisee come aboard in North Carolina, so pretty exciting. Now, fast forward to where we are at today. We are approaching that 590 territories or locations sold, paid for, signed franchise agreements with a timeline to open. 590. We currently just surpassed 200 locations open inside the U.S. and Canada. Canada is knocking it out of the park, totally taking Code Ninjas, the brand, to the next level. Their energy, what they're doing in the community, we got a lot to learn from them up in Canada. They're doing great with Code Ninjas. And obviously in the U.S. here, we have a lot of locations open, a lot of collaboration going on. We had our Franchise Advisory Council at our corporate office this week, and they've been with us for a variety of, since the beginning, like Dale Thomas, all the way through to some newer people. And their insight on how we can take Code Ninjas to the next level, because they live on the ground with customers every day, with kids, with parents, looking at the trends like we do. And to get their feedback was just so valuable. And they made it very clear that the Code Ninja franchise energy is at the highest that they've seen it, which is really, really exciting to see that parents and franchisees and students are receiving such a benefit from Code Ninjas. Pretty exciting. So now with that, we have close to just surpassed 300 franchisees as well. This week alone, we've added 5 new franchisees. So we've surpassed that 300 franchisee marker with 200 locations open. We'll hit that 600 locations sold easily by March, which is really exciting for that first 3 years of actually being a franchise offering in Code Ninjas. So where is all this coming from? Why is there so much energy? Why do every call that we host here on Fridays have 30 to 50 attendees? Why are Discovery Days having 40? We have a Discovery Day coming up on February 13th in London. We already are past 50 attendees. And these are people we've been working with, prospective franchisees like yourself, we've been working with for anywhere from 6 months to 8 months to 2 months. It's pretty exciting to see that already surpassed 50 attendees. And we also host those every single month at our corporate office here in Houston, Texas, that we also host Discovery Day. So why is there so much attention coming our way? What's going on? And really what we've done is we've taken this idea of learning how to code and broken it down into fully transferable skills. And there's not just one opportunity for families to get involved in Code Ninjas. There's multiple, based on budget, based on time, based on convenience, and really based on the desire of the ninja and the parent, right? Because the parents drive the bus a lot on that. So where is all that coming from? Well, it stems back to David Graham, our CEO and founder, being an entrepreneur, being a coder and programmer his whole life, really had this passion to bring this to the younger generation. Well, while he owned his school that taught adults how to code, that school operated in 18 different cities for 4.5 years. Obviously, that was going very, very well. And there wasn't a week that went by that he wasn't asked a question about the younger generation learning these skills and what can be done. And so he continued to dig in. And as he was digging in, he continued to see a real issue and a real lack of opportunity on the market. Being a father of 2 boys, he was like, okay, well, what would I put my boys in? What opportunities do my boys have? And he was just shocked at the lack of opportunity and the cost that went along with it. So as he continued to break down the curriculum and obviously run his school, there came a time where he had an opportunity to sell his school, which he did, and then moved on to starting Code Ninjas. And that's where David Graham, Bert Sensipon, and myself started developing Code Ninjas in October of 2016. And obviously developing who we were, what we were going to do, the direction we were going to go. We had this vision of curriculum, had this vision of how the structure was going to be, and we started building that, and that's when we launched in March of 2017. So now as we are here today, we see that we have here in the U.S. and Canada, we have seven different opportunities for families to get involved in Code Ninjas. And in the U.K., we have 6, which we just removed that after-school program with inside of the U.K. And those multiple programs, we really allow you to be pretty much flexible with in terms of how you want to actually use those inside your center. So to kind of roughly just touch on those a little bit, which we're going to dig into one of them pretty much the number one most popular program we have. We're going to dig into that a little bit, but just again to give you an idea of what those programs are, is we have our Code Ninjas Junior program. The Code Ninjas Junior program is an ongoing program. It starts at young as 4 years old, and that goes from about 4 to 8 years old. It's a non-reading based program, can be used for special needs. That program that we have inside of our centers is all about convenience, the same with the Code Ninjas Create program. These two run very similar. But the Code Ninjas Junior program is, like I said, all about the fundamentals, the basic concepts, pretty easy, right? Non-reading based program. And then our students move into the Code Ninjas Create program. This is the most popular program we have at Code Ninjas. The Code Ninjas Create program is how everything started with Code Ninjas. That was our core. That was our baby. That's how all this was ignited and started. And the Code Ninjas Create used to be called the Belt program, the Code Ninjas Belt program, which was made up of 9 different belts. Well, that hasn't changed to stay with the Code Ninja, the Ninja theme. We still do have 9 belts inside that Code Ninjas Create is what we call it now, inside that program. And we're going to talk more about those 9 belts and what that looks like here in a minute. And we also do offer after-school programming, which is when students are being picked up from school and brought to your center. And we offer birthday parties. We also offer camps. Camps are typically 5 days long for either a half day or a full day for a duration of 5 days. And then we also offer workshops. Workshops are 1 to 3 days. So we have those 1 to 3 day programs. And we also have Parents Night Out. And then soon we'll be releasing our Code Ninjas Pro curriculum. The Parents Night Out is really about showing off culture. It's about fun. It's like glorified babysitting, but in a STEM-focused, fun, game-building environment. And that's a really good way for students who are kind of thinking about being a part of Code Ninjas and want to kind of test it a little bit. Parents Night Out, a 1-day workshop are great programs for that, and so are camps. We currently offer 14 different camps. And adding to those camps on a regular basis, from Python-based camps to robotic-based camps to creating-based camps, game-building camps. So lots of different camps available that run for a duration of 5 days that are broken up into 1-day segments. So that is an opportunity that you do whenever there's not school. So whenever you don't have school, you will be doing it. You can do camps and workshops. You also can take camps and workshops out into your community. It doesn't just have to be restricted from inside of your center. So you have some flexibility there. So those are the basic setup. When a parent comes in, now they're not just overwhelmed with all these options. It's our job on the inside to really help evaluate where they're at, what they want to accomplish, what their goals are, what their budget is, what their timing is. A lot of programs going on nowadays. And that's one reason we really went with this flexible learning system. So if we really break down the Create program, and just to touch on a little bit, since we've been doing this call, About 15 of you have just jumped on in the last few minutes. And just to kind of give you some insight, we're going to be doing a question and answer segment at the end of this call, which is in about 5 minutes. And you'll be able to virtually raise your hand and ask any question that you have by hitting *6. So just keep in mind that if you're just joining us. And so when we talk, we're breaking down, just to kind of catch you up, we broke down the different opportunities when it comes to Code Ninjas, the 6, 7 different programs within inside the UK, the US, and within inside of Canada. The Code Ninjas Create program is going to be your most popular program. That's the foundation of Code Ninjas. That's what we're known for. That's what's given us all this attention. We were going against the grain of what's being taught on the market. The majority of the Code Ninjas Create program is proprietary and exclusive to Code Ninjas. So that program, like I said, has 9 different belts. Inside each one of those belts are a set of learned concepts and skills. And at the end of each belt, students show their proficiency in the skills and concepts that they have learned, and they show their proficiency by building a game. That game lives on our game development platform. That is, we built that. That is just what's also known as an LMS, right? A learning management system. We call it our GDP, our game development platform. So when our students go through our belts and they learn skills and concepts, at the end, they're showing their proficiency, right? It's not a participation trophy. It's not a participation belt they're receiving. It's not about how long they've been there. It's about how they're absorbing those skills and showing the proficiency in those skills. We set up these benchmarks to help the students feel competent. If they feel competent that they can accomplish this goal, they're going to continue to stay motivated. It's the same with us adults, right? So when we look at how we built this in these little wins all the way through each belt. Each belt compounds and works with the prior belt and the belt to come. So it's all cumulative learning. It all works together. This curriculum comes with proprietary textbooks, comes with an exclusive robotics program. We work through 3 different technologies, right? 3 different languages with the syntax through this program. The majority of this is proprietary and exclusive to Code Ninjas. This is what's called a flexible learning system, which means they're going to come in at their convenience, and they're going to be there at their parents' convenience, their convenience, and they can come in up to 2 hours per week. And then when it's all done through our system, they come in, they scan their wristband, they go open their laptop, they log in to our dashboard. Our curriculum lives in the cloud on our platform, and they access that through our dashboard. That dashboard is going to be filled with what they've already accomplished, what's to come if they're part of any teams. It's also connected to the parent portal, so parents can also play the games that their son or their daughter is building. If you have read up on Code Ninjas much, you see that we always say kids have fun, parents see results. That's our foundation. We want to keep that in focus, that kids are having fun, that parents are seeing results. That's really critical for us to always keep in focus. Those more and more parents stay engaged. They see the result of what their son or their daughter is learning. They're going to continue to be motivated to bring their son or their daughter in. So that curriculum is what's known as, like I said, flexible learning system. It is a self-paced but not self-taught program. What that means is there's no classrooms, there's no lectures. They're not coming in at appointed times. They're coming in at their convenience. They're staying for that hour to 2 hours, and then they're moving on with their day. Now, in that setting, when they come up to a problem that they cannot solve, they are going to raise their hand. And a coach sensei is going to come work with them one-on-one, very personal, and they're going to help them through that problem solving so that the ninja can continue through the curriculum. Our curriculum, like I said, has an exclusive robotics program built into it, so there's tactile learning going on as well. We have a vice president of education who has many, many, many years of STEM, before STEM was a thing, experience in this digital realm and also this coding area of curriculum, and has a very good success record, track record. So we have 15 coders and programmers on staff that oversee our curriculum development. We have leads in every department, so this is something that's consistently being refined. We tell everyone our curriculum is complete but never finished. It'll never be finished. It's consistently being refined being not major overhauls, because that would require lots of learning changes, and our core fundamentals of what we focus on with Inside Code Ninjas makes it so we don't require these major overhauls. We focus on what makes a great coder, which is that problem identification, thinking skills, right? So problem identification, problem solving, collaboration, leadership, time management. Those skills are what makes a great coder. And so we focus on that skill set. So that's the foundation that builds our curriculum. And inside of that, like I said, they're learning they're working through 3 different technologies through our Code Ninjas Create program. This is not just a bunch of cut and paste. They're actually learning the syntax. So these skills and concepts that they learn, again, they have to show their proficiencies. If they're just doing a bunch of cutting and pasting, they would not be able to show proficiencies in skills and concepts that they're learning. So that is that Code Ninjas Create program. Parents pay a flat monthly tuition rate for that program. And that's going to depend upon if they want 1 hour a week access, do they want 2 hour a week access. It's going to come down to the parent's decision at that time. And also, this is not like you can do this for a week and say, okay, did you like it, did you not like it? We encourage all of our Code Ninja franchisees and center directors to explain the value of a 3 to 6 month program so that parents understand this is not like come in once or twice and then we're all done. We need to show consistency. We need to be coming in for a little while and have the expectations rolled out for the parents so they understand ahead of time what this looks like. When it comes to the other aspects of this, the only curriculum that's going to roll into this one is that junior program. Camps, workshops, after school, parents' night out. Those don't really add to the Code Ninjas Create program. It's not going to help them get through that faster necessarily by doing extra credit. There'll be different pieces to it. So this gives you a little bit of insight on our history as a company, what we're doing, where we've come from, our success and track record of opening Code Ninjas, adding franchisees. We have a large variety of franchisees, from those who don't know how to code but understand the value, to teachers, to entrepreneurs, to IT professionals, software engineers. We have franchisees that are all over the board. It is not a consistent, like, what makes a great franchisee isn't going to be based off their career background necessarily. So pretty easy how I go through that. Now we move into this Q&A segment where you're able to ask whatever questions you have. If you have not heard from someone on my team, please email me because I want to get you connected. And it's Marty, M-A-R-T-Y, at codeninjas.com. So if you've not heard from someone on my team, please let me know so I can get you connected. But this is going to be your time to ask whatever questions you have. And if you've listened to these calls in the past, you know that I welcome whatever question, no matter what that question is going to be. If I can legally answer it, I'm going to do that. And I'm very transparent. I'm very crystal clear on everything that I can answer. And if it's with the franchise agreement, if it's with the territories, I built Code Ninjas from day one with David Graham and Bert Sensipon. I'm the guy in charge of all the franchising side of it. So if it's around the franchise disclosure document, territories, how the franchise support structure works, it doesn't matter. Bring it my way. I'll do my very best to answer it for you. I have tons of caffeine in my system like normal, so pretty much ready to rock and roll. So whatever questions you have, let's hit those. You're just going to hit *6, and that'll allow me to unmute you so that you're able to ask any question that you have regarding Code Ninjas. And if I've done such a fantastic job to where nobody has any questions, by hitting *6, you're able to virtually raise your hand. I'll be able to unmute you, and you'll be able to ask your question. But like I said, if I've done such a fantastic job with all this in 17 minutes, where you do not have any questions at all, then we're going to wind down the call early and allow you to go on with your day. And it doesn't make a difference if it's a UK-based question, because I have a team in the UK, and I understand exactly what we're facing out there. So it doesn't make a difference where you're calling from, as long as it's focused on the UK, Canada, or the US. If you have questions outside of the US, Canada, and the UK, do not ask them on this platform. Shoot me an email, and I'll be able to help you from there. Awesome. We have some UK questions. Hi, you have a question?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. Well, I didn't know I was first. Okay. So in terms of being tethered to a location, got a question on that. Is that okay?
Sure, please go ahead.
Yeah. So, like, say you want to introduce the actual syllabus to a particular area, but do you have to have like a location in place, or can you lean on some of the other franchises to provide like a workshop for a particular area?
You can always go to it. If you're not a franchisee and you are more or less saying, I want to bring Code Ninjas into my market, but I'm not a franchisee and I would like to work with one of your franchisees, you can always chat with our franchisees and find out if they're able to do a workshop in your area.
So you can hire like a venue and all the props will be brought over, and it is possible to do that?
Well, you have to have as a franchisee, you have to have a physical location. So you can't just kind of do a pop-up location. You have to do a physical location. If a franchisee would like to do a camp or a workshop outside of their center, and as long as that is not inside of another Code Ninjas territory, they can definitely take the camp and workshop curriculum and go out into the marketplace. You cannot take the junior program or the Code Ninjas Create program and go into the market with those. Those are ongoing curriculums and not a camp or a workshop.
Right. Okay.
Does that help you? That make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. And what about like, do you consider like working with partnerships with schooling, or perhaps is that still?
If a franchisee would like to take the camp-based curriculum and go out into a school, they can do that. They still have to have their physical location, and they cannot, like I said, they cannot take the ongoing curriculum that takes 3 to 4 years to accomplish. They cannot take that outside the center.
Okay. And I know no question is bad, but just one more?
No, please, go for it.
Do I have to
go for it.
Yeah. So I really love the idea because I'm a developer, and I'm just curious to know if you just want to be a sensei. Does that come down to the actual franchisees?
Yep. You would go to a franchisee and apply for a position. Yep.
So you can be a sensei, but it would depend on the franchisees to.
It's a franchisees hire their own people, so you'd have to chat with them when you have an open center. Yep.
And is there like a platform for how you can perhaps connect with these franchisees, or?
Well, you just go to our website. Yep. You just go to our website and you would reach out to them.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Hi, you have a question?
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So thank you for your presentation. I really appreciate it. I wanted to ask, I have about 3 questions, if that's okay. So I am interested in this business to also kind of do something in the inner city where there's an African American population. And I wanted to know, is there room in the curriculum to kind of customize that, the shape of it, not so much the content, but more so, the talk around it, like, emphasizing successful African Americans that are coders, that are in the industry, do those type of things to kind of incorporate it in the functioning of this franchise?
Well, that would be more, so what you're saying and how our franchisees have currently done things like that is they've done different workshops. So when it comes to the curriculum itself, there would be no need for any kind of separation between for what you're saying, customization for what you're saying. It would be more of, you're talking about more of doing a workshop. Maybe you'd be bringing in different individuals or showcasing different situations and different success stories that would be more like a workshop. The ongoing curriculum itself wouldn't apply to what you're asking.
Okay. And then also my industry is kind of in the health field. So again, the customization so again, if I was to try to shape it where this story would be around biomedical technology or informatics, knowing that you have to learn these type of programs.
You have to remember we're working with 4 to 14-year-olds. So what you're talking about is now going into industry-specific areas. And that's a whole nother piece. Because working with a 5, 6, 7, 8 to, let's say 8 to 12-year-old, what we're teaching them the basic skills and concepts. You're talking about very industry-specific. Again, that would be more focused around a workshop or a camp, not an ongoing skill set building program. So what we're doing is a step before they get to you. Because before they get to you, they have to have this foundation. Otherwise, when they get to you, they're not going to be able to absorb what you're suggesting. It's like moving into AI too fast. You first have to have a foundation. You can't just jump right into that. You can, but it's very difficult, and it's only for a small percentage of the population that can actually do it. You have to have that foundational skills and concepts. So we're building a fully transferable foundation for them. We're not brainwashing them into or siloing them into a career or brainwashing them into a language, a technology. We're building this skill set that's fully transferable so they can kind of, in so many words, choose their poison when they get older. If they want to go down that medical field or military, or if they want to focus on more of a software engineer, it doesn't mean they have to be a coder.
Okay, and then from the purchase of a franchise to the launch, how long does that take?
From the day you become a franchisee to the day you open your doors for business, on average, is 6 to 7 months.
6 to 7 months. And then what is the range for the cost of the franchise?
So, all those costs are actually laid out on our website, and it actually shows you a little bit more of a line item. But you're looking anywhere from, in the U.S., you're looking anywhere from about $110,000 to $250,000 U.S. The UK is a whole different. It's about half the cost in the UK because of some different things over there. But in the US, it's about 110 to about 250.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Hi. You have a question? Hello. Maybe I'm on mute. You there? No. All right. Okay, keep going. Hi, do you have a question?
Hi, yeah, I do. Thanks for doing this. It's been really helpful.
For sure.
My first question is just kind of population threshold. Like, what would be the minimum population in a region that you would, that you would choose?
Yeah. So here in the U.S., so here in the U.S. and Canada, we look for a 6,000 to 7,000 student population. So we don't do overall population. We look for the actual students in our age range. So here in the U.S., we look for 6,000 to 7,000 students in our age range, and we are and when we have a certain median household income. But those aren't the only two factors. We obviously have internal and external matrices we use, but this will get you a rough idea. That income part of it varies, just because of cost of living in different cities. Cost of living in Louisiana is much different than the cost of living on Long Island. So we have to look at different situations in terms of median household income. If you're living in the Bay Area and you're making $70,000 a year, it's borderline poverty. But if you're doing that in northern Minnesota, you're in the upper tier, right? So we have to take in consideration the geolocation and what the cost of living is in those markets.
Right. Okay. My other question, or one of my other questions, was for code senseis. What's the kind of the on-ramp time for training for them?
Well, it's actually pretty easy because you're only going to be training code senseis up to where you have students. So when you open your doors for business, you're going to probably have your code senseis just do the first 2 belts. And what a 16 to 22-year-old cognitive ability is should be much higher than what it is for a 7 to 14-year-old. So they're going to be able to whip through those first two belts in a matter of a week, and that's at the same time not 8 hours a day. We're talking coming in for a couple hours, working through it, and going home. They're not in it 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and they're getting through the first two belts. That's not how it works. 16 to 22-year-olds can get through that pretty quick. And they're all a little bit different, but typically they're going through pretty fast. But they're also doing other training with that, because the Code Sensei's number one responsibility is to deliver an exceptional experience. Their number two responsibility is to teach and coach the Code Ninjas curriculum.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Last question. Are
Sure.
you able to share just kind of average revenue per franchise and what you're seeing in net revenue, and just some more details around just across an average?
Yeah, I definitely can share that one-on-one. Since it's a public forum, in some states I'm not able to release the Item 19 information inside the franchise disclosure document. I can't do that in a public forum, but my team and I can do that with you one-on-one. And we also have a very nice Excel performer that we've built that allow you to plug and play the numbers and kind of stack that Item 19 on top of that. Okay,
great. Well, thanks so much, Marty. I appreciate the time.
No problem. No problem. Thank you. I'll keep going. It takes me a little time to page through this. They updated my software, and it takes longer, so I apologize for the time in between questions. Hi, you have a question? Oop, am I on mute? Do you have a question? Going once and twice. Oh. All right, I'll keep rolling. Sorry for the delay between questions. Hi, you have a question?
Yeah, I have. So I have a question about the operation. How is the operation for the after opening the franchises? So you have your team to operate, or I should have my team, or build a team to operate my branch, or what is your model of business for the operation?
Yeah, so we are not a proprietorship. Would be basically hiring your team for you and having you run that, and that's more of a proprietorship. We're a true franchise, and you're hiring your own team. We give you training agendas. We give you the direction to go. We have a full support team, but you hire your own team, and you're in charge of your own team.
Okay. And each branch, they have their own curriculums, so I can develop my own curriculum, or it's as a standard curriculum for each branch or for all branches based on your cloud platform, or I can add my own curriculums, especially for artificial intelligence and this part. So this is the option, or is it a standard curriculum for all the branches?
Well, you have to follow the Code Ninjas approved curriculum. And so what that means is like many of our franchisees who are software engineers and developers and programmers and live in the technology space, they come to us with different ideas and different camps and that they want to incorporate. Our team goes through those because obviously we have a large team of curriculum developers. We have a vice president of education who lives in this world. They go through the curriculum, and if it becomes approved, we make it available for all the Code Ninjas. And we like to beta test that as well with inside certain centers. So if you came up with something, you would have to run that by our team to get it approved. If it's approved, then you definitely can do it inside of your Code Ninjas because it's approved by Code Ninjas. But you couldn't just come up with your own curriculum and kind of do it whenever you wanted to, because that means none of our Code Ninjas would be uniform. They'd all be doing something different. So everything does have to be approved by Code Ninjas for it to be done inside your center.
Okay, and do you have a plan for the kids from 4 to 7? Because there is another centers now, they are running some training for the kids from 4 to 7. So do you have this plan in your pipeline for the future, or because
it's
some programs already adapt?
It's already in place. Our curriculum for 4 to 8
already in place.
Code Ninjas, Yep, the Code Ninjas Junior program is already in place. Yep.
Okay, so can you give me about the investment requirements and what the benefit, especially investment for foreigner out of U.S. to open a branches in the U.S. So do you have specific requirements from them?
This call is only for the U.S., is only for Canada, and is only for the U.K. So those are the only numbers that I would review.
Yeah, okay. I mean, if I need to open open branch with the franchise from Code Ninjas to open it in US, but I'm foreign and out of US. So do you have any restriction for this point?
When it comes to opening a Code Ninjas in the U.S., it is actually the breakdown is on our website. You can actually see it for opening a Code Ninjas in the U.S. It ranges from $110,000 to $250,000 to open a Code Ninjas in the U.S.
Okay, so I'm an investor, but I need to invest. I'm out of U.S. I don't have U.S. passport. Okay, I'm not U.S. citizen. So do you have any requirement for the investor to be a U.S. citizen in order to open a branch in U.S. or this is?
You need an E2 visa. If you're going to be coming to the U.S. to open up a Code Ninjas, you would need an E2 visa.
Okay. And what about the benefit? You mentioned this revenue has to 1-to-1, but any stock option for the main company, for the investor, you consider it in your plan to put some stock for the future, or just each branch is depend on your revenue? That's it.
Each branch is an independent venue.
Okay. What is the period of contract for to be franchised with your Code Ninjas?
It's a 5-year franchise agreement.
5 years.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Thank you. Okay. Keep rolling. Hi. You have a question? Hi. Yes.
Yeah. Hi. I'm Rashmi. Actually, I live in Canada, but I'm more interested to get a franchise in India. I'm originally from India. So I know that currently you are having franchise in US, Canada, and UK, but do you have any plans to expand it to the Asian countries as well?
Yeah, later in 2021. So I would say that if you're looking for anything in India, I would check back in towards the end of this year.
Sure, that would be great. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Again, if you have questions that are about outside of the U.S., Canada, and the U.K., this is not the forum to ask a question for those. Email me, please, marty@codeninjas.com. I will be more than happy to answer your questions via email, but this is not the platform to be asking me questions about India or any place else outside of the U.S., Canada, or the U.K., please. Hi, you have a question?
I do, yes. Thank you. So I have 3 questions. How is the location determined?
Okay, so we work on that together. That's something you do with my team one-on-one. We do have requirements in place and standards in place for a location. So we look at internal and external demographics, our internal and external matrices. So we look at demographics of student population, median household income, cost of living. We look at whether it's other Code Ninjas in the area or the Code Ninjas that are similar. We want to make sure that we're setting you up for success. We have size requirements, space requirements in general for Code Ninjas as well. But we work with you individually on that when we look at your market and break it down, because not every market is created equal.
And on the same line of that question, do you have like a certain area that's designated like your area when you're a franchisee, like so that you're not competing with other Code Ninjas?
Yes, you have a protected territory.
Okay. And then the location itself, though, it has to be approved by you guys, or do you guys pick the location for us to actually have a shop out of?
Well, we have preferred vendors that we work with. We have a preferred vendor that has done the majority of our locations, and you would work with them if you wanted to. It's not required. It's an option, and they would search for your location, do all your negotiating as well for you, and obviously they would submit. They know what would be approved, but they still submit locations for approval, and my team would then work with you on location by location approvals.
Okay, great. And then how quickly do you have like an average of return of investment?
So the item 19 will help you with that. So if you haven't seen the franchise disclosure document, you definitely want to get your hands on that. We also have a very nice Excel pro forma that allows you to have your base operating expense, and you can overlay that with the item 19 information, which the item 19 information is updated every March, and the new franchise disclosure document is released typically in April, and we only can discuss the numbers that are inside by franchising law. Inside the U.S. and Canada, the U.K. is different. The U.K. has actually some benefits in the U.K. that we can't do here in the U.S. and Canada. But in the U.S. and Canada, franchising law prevents us from discussing any numbers outside of the item 19.
And where do I find that? Is that something that gets emailed to me, or is it on your website?
No, that would be something that you would work. So more than likely one of my team members, if you receive the invite to come here, you've also seen an email from one of my team members. You would connect with them, have a chat with them, and then they would send the FDD to you, obviously with other information along with our outline of our business model, to the link to all these past calls, to our Excel pro forma, curriculum roadmap, all that good information they would send to you.
Great, thank you. And then one more question.
Awesome.
You mentioned,
yes, please.
I know my kids attend one of the Code Ninjas here in Houston.
Nice.
So I have questions about
wonderful.
it. So my younger child just joined the junior, which I really love. So you have a junior program, you have the regular program, and then you said, did you mention pro?
Yeah, no, the Code Ninjas Pro curriculum is one we've been working on for a little while, and we do touch on that briefly at our Discovery Days, which we have Discovery Days every month at our corporate office there in Pearland, Texas. And the pro curriculum is for 14 years and older, so it can be full adulthood if you wanted to start that then. And that's more of a mobile-based program, so it's not like adults are coming and sitting next to a 10-year-old. It's not like that.
Fabulous. Okay. So it does have you do have something in line for kids older than 14 or adults even, right?
Yes. Yep.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
No problem. All right, wonderful. Thank you. Wish I was in Houston right now. I'm just looking at snow and like 10 degrees outside. Hi, you have a question?
Yes. Hi. I had a question on location size rules and whether any kind of shared ownership for a franchise location is permitted, or if there are any examples of that.
Yeah, so when it comes to shared ownership, are you meaning like multiple different owners own a Code Ninjas? Or are you talking about brand sharing where Code Ninjas would operate inside of another brand?
Multiple owners owning a single facility. Yeah.
That's the majority of our franchisees. The majority of our franchisees are partnerships. So that happens all the time.
I see.
So we'd welcome that. When it comes to, so maybe I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, and as it comes to location size rules, like when it'll come to scouting an actual physical location, there might be some limitations.
Well,
in what's
I would
available.
say everything. Yeah, here in the U.S. and Canada, you want to look for 1,600. We bounce between 1,600 and 3,000 square feet, but the majority of our franchisees are around 2,000 square feet. So if you're out there looking and doing a scan on the marketplace, looking for 1,600 to 2,200 square feet, even 1,550 and 2,000 square feet would be a good place to look around in.
Okay. All right. That was it for
Awesome.
me. Thanks.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you. Wonderful. All right. Hi. You have a question?
Hi there.
Hi.
Yes, thank you very much for doing this presentation. It's really helpful indeed. I'm based in London, UK, and I've seen that the investment costs are laid out online, but in dollars. And you did mention that it will be about half that in the UK. However, will you be posting something similar, like a breakdown in Great British pounds, or when will this financial information be disclosed to me?
Well, we actually host Discovery Days, and the next one is February 18th. And actually within February 13th, I'm sorry, at the Bankside Hilton. Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, one thing is if you're working with my team, which would be Diane or me for the UK, we actually work with you through that whole process. So you have a really good understanding of what it's going to cost to open. We tell everybody inside the UK, think of £100,000 as your starting place. We know that some franchisees will do it for less and some franchisees will do it for more, but think of £100,000 as your starting place to open. That's full. It's not like you're giving us a check for £100,000. I mean, that those monies will be dispersed by you to the proper place when needed. At that, but that's a good place to start at, is around there.
Okay, sure thing. Thank you. And just another question. Did you mention, because I've been listening to a few of your calls, did you mention that after-school classes are not permitted in the UK for certain laws?
Yeah, so in the UK you heard correctly. So, but to be clear, to understand what after-school means, that means they're with you for 4 or 5 hours every day, 5 days a week. So that's what an after-school program is. An after-school program means you're picking them up from school, bringing them back to your center like a daycare. So you need different certifications, and there's different laws that come into play inside the UK that make it very, very difficult for you to be able to be in that space. We're not saying that you can't, but it really comes down to inside the UK, we have to look at usage, and I don't know your history. For all I know, you have all the certifications and you have all that already, and then it comes down to what kind of space you're going to go into, because usage is a big deal inside the UK and how council approves Code Ninjas, whether it's D1 or A2 or sui generis. So we have to look at that landscape as well. So there's a lot of moving parts in there to offer a program like that.
Okay, sure thing. Understood. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Keep going. Wonderful. Hi, you have a question?
Hi. Yes. So I have two questions. One's how do you, just without going into step by step on the FDDs, what are the differences between this high level like advantages or disadvantages that Coding Ninja has over its competitors, like the Coder School as an example, or anyone else?
Well, I think just like when you go into anything, it's really coming down to you as a prospective franchisee have to look at the business model, have to understand the team, and have to choose which one's best for you. And a parent needs to do the same thing. We have Code Ninjas right next to next to Coder Schools, and the Coder School they're great guys. I mean, Hans and his partner, these are great people. They just do it differently than we do. So as a parent's going to have to choose between which program fits them the best, just like you as an entrepreneur have to choose which one. And as you go through your due diligence process, listening to these calls, coming to Discovery Day, working with my team, you need to look at the opportunity and you need to choose which one is best for you. When it comes to these high-level differences, as you're having me tell you them all is different than you doing the vetting process yourself and going through that discovery phase. So working with my team, they can help point out some of the differences, but bottom line, it's going to come down to who you feel most comfortable moving forward with. And we encourage you to go with your gut, with whichever direction you want to go. As long as it's going to be helping you accomplish your goals, go for it. We don't bash competition. We don't say that we're better than everybody. By listening to these calls and by going through this process, you're going to see the differences, and then hopefully there'll be enough there for you to make the best decision for you.
Okay, that's a good answer. Now, do you usually share territory? Sometimes there's Walmart and Target right next to each other. So do you usually share territory with the schools, or do you try to avoid that? How does that work?
We don't try to avoid anybody. We try to find the best value and the best opportunity for you. So when it comes to looking at a market, if there's 20,000 students in a 3-mile radius and there's a Coder School there and there's a Code Ninjas there, then great. There's plenty of students to go around, right? But if you're going into a market that has 5,000 students and you have a Coder School there and a Codeverse there, you may want to think twice about it, right? So we want to figure out to make sure you're set up for success, and there's a lot of moving parts there. I don't know your base operating expense. I don't know anything about you. I don't know anything about your market, right? We got to get those questions answered. We have Code Ninjas next to Coder Schools. And by the way, they were there first. And we've been in markets where they've come in and we were there first. So we both bring something different to the community. It's like every small town across the U.S. and Canada, right? There's like 4 or 5 churches and 4 or 5 liquor stores. They all have something. They all bring something different to the table, and it's same with Code Ninjas. We bring something different to the table than the Coder School, and they do vice versa. They're great people. We're great people. You just have to choose which one you feel most comfortable with.
Okay. And then last question. So on the range of investment, like as you were saying, there's a big range, but generally, the difference is I'm assuming it's usually typically real estate from a gear standpoint, right? It's the same material, or the subscription standpoint, the same curriculum or same program or the same license fee. So why would the range be so vast if you're leasing, and leasing expense is not usually factored?
Sure. Well, the difference in opening a Code Ninjas is going to come down to the size of your space. That's going to be a factor in that range. But if you take that out and you just look at saying everything was the same size, so when you see that number, we shave off the top 10% and shave off the bottom 10%. We've had a Code Ninjas open for $25,000. You think I'm going to put that in the FTD? No way. It's a one-off. I'm not going to put that in the FTD. That's misleading. So we take out the bottom 10% and the top 10%, and we leave up to 80% in there. That's why it's 110 to 250. And that, let's say they're all the same size. Let's say they're all 1,800 square feet. The biggest difference in there is going to be what the build-out expense is going to be for you, right? So the build-out expense, if the landlord is going to contribute TIA to this, tenant improvement allowance, that's going to change your opening dollar amount. If they give you $40 in TI and you're 1,800 square feet, next thing you know, you're getting 50, 60 grand towards your build-out. Now instead of 250, you're at 170 or 180 open.
Got it. Okay. That was very informative. Thank you.
No problem. Are we good? Is that all?
Yeah, that was it. Thanks, Marty.
Hey, thanks for your questions. I appreciate it.
Yep.
I want to thank everybody for taking time to join today's Code Ninjas conference call. Week. If my team has not connected with you, if you didn't have a chance to get a question answered today, please feel free to email me, Marty, MARTY, @codeninjas.com. With inside the U.S. and Canada and the UK, I thank you for your time, and I'm looking forward to hosting more Discovery Days in the future. Thank you.